We work in different fields, but with some specializations within laboratories. We have customers in Asia for laboratories, in Belgium, Luxembourg, and next week also in France. And so a few words about the fact that there is specifically one new norm regarding the work of laboratories. It's called ISO 17025, which is usually enforced because if a lot of labs, if they don't have the compliance with that norm, sometimes they cannot even work. So in a lot of fields, it's mandatory. And so the former norm was more than 10 years old, and so they were speaking a lot of papers. So this time they are talking about IT, sometimes with quite funny or frightening requirements. So, and within the new requirements, that the fact is that the software now, the solution has to be validated. It means a lot of work, of course. And just for information, we talked this morning for a laboratory. They have 160,000 samples per year, and they have an auditor which is not confident in IT system, and the auditor asks them to check 1% of the transaction manually every year. So that means that they have maybe 2,000 transactions, 2,000 reports to check manually. So there is also something to battle with the auditors of lab, because sometimes they are not confident at all in IT system. And so for the norm also requires that every configuration modification, even if it is a commercial off-the-shelf software, everything should be authorized, documented, validated before implementation. Other requirements also, but more basic and more normal in that field. The system should be protected from unauthorized access, tampering, and loss, also protection. Safeguard, we have to record everything, who, when, what, and so on within the system. More funny requirement that a lab should work with IT partner which is also competent. And also that the fact that the provider of the IT, of the LIMS system, should comply with all applicable requirements of that document. So even for partners like us, it means that we must have a good knowledge of the norm. All calculations should be checked. A lab must document the competence requirement for each function, and even they should tell, okay, we can work with you, but you have to have such technical knowledge. And again, regarding new fields which have a lot of impact on an IT system, there is a rule of decision now. It means that when a lab is giving you a result, there is also always, for those knowing that, but more technical, an uncertainty attached to the result, and we have to manage that also in the system, because a lab, by definition, is never certain of a result. There is always a plus or minus error. And because I am also an auditor, I am a former lab manager, to be short, and there are European or international accreditation bodies, and they are thinking about having special assessments of laboratories when they have a LIMS system, and even more funny, they are against storage in cloud. So when you work with a product like Odoo, it's a pity. So technically, what are the useful tools we are using? But for those who were in a GXP presentation this morning, it's quite the same. So small differences between the normal configuration of Odoo. So we use the OCA module for enhancement of the password security, timeout of session, also a nice module. We have to make a lot of documentation. We use also the OCA audit trail because we have to timestamp everything in the system. It means also that when a customer is asking you some customization, it must go through a change request management, because we have to assess the risk the intensity of the change, what will have to be validated once again, and so on. And very important thing also, if you have to work with laboratories, they have to make receipts for testing. Everything must be validated. It's impacting, of course, the project because it's a lot of administrative burden because you must have a validation plans, the user requirement specification. You have to have details, functional specification, design specification, test reports, change management, and continuous validation. So technically, if you have some experience in a LIMS system, I'm going to show you some example because I think it's going to be okay with the time. We made a more sophisticated rule of decision module because normally when you do an analysis, you say, okay, it's black or white. So if it is less than, it's okay. If it is more than something, it's not okay. Now we made something where you can add as many rules of decision as you want in the system. So even not only saying that, okay, it's not conform, but it is maybe conform, or we set also another status which is unconclusive. That means that, okay, maybe you have a problem and we propose you to do something else. We improved a lot. Laboratories, they work in a lot of fields, so we have laboratories analyzing toys, textiles, furniture. You can have laboratories analyzing water, soil, and so on. And for instance, for laboratories using analyzing waters, we make also a tour module so that we can schedule how many samples and who has to take samples on the field. So they have also the possibility to encode some field result on site. We are working also on a offline module for encoding result. We worked a lot. I heard that on the former speech they were talking about smart buttons. So we worked also a lot on the ergonomy of the system because even from the dashboard, the technicians, they can encode their results, not going very deep in the system, but just log to their dashboard. A very important thing also, if you know about LIMS, is usually in a laboratory they have cooking recipes. They call that methods or SOPs. And usually they will say, we can have life cycle in Odoo very easily or in other LIMS, but they will say, oh, yes, but for SOP 1 I have a certain life cycle, and for another SOP I have another life cycle. So we make a very quick configuration tool. In 5 minutes you can configure methods with different life cycles. They also have to manage a lot of quality management system. We have also a module for all procedures, non-conformities, actions, audit, internal audit, and so on. We also made it brand new since like week interlab management module, because labs, they have also to participate to a lot of external control. And very quickly, if you look here, it's a complete flow within 2 minutes and 20 seconds. A lab can create a request for analysis. The technical part is when they choose a matrix, there is only a certain choice of analysis they can do on it. Very, very quickly they can create, there is a complete automation with the sale order. And then of course it can be linked to the invoicing in the system. And once a customer is happy, they can confirm the sale order, and automatically the request for analysis is accepted. And then they can create and put some data also on the sample themselves. And then the technicians, they can receive notification that new analyses are waiting for them. We have a complete scan module, of course, because in labs sometimes one analysis can be composed of 30 different bottles, with each bottle with a label on it. And then everything is automatic. Once you scan, the sample is ongoing, and so on. Then the technicians, of course, they have to encode their results. Basically, in a lab, they need also validation steps of the results. We have by default 2 validation steps. We made also quick view of the analysis report. and very easily they can encode the different soaps they have to perform. They can then have an overview. The manager of the lab has an overview of the analysis and can validate. We call that the technically second validation. And the remaining part is just to create the invoice and to get the money from the customer. Some customers, they are asking to get the money before doing the analysis. It's up to you. Any questions? Yeah.
Just for clarity on the revised 17025, is it a mandatory requirement?
In 2020.
No, is it a mandatory requirement that the instrument needs to be integrated with the LIMS?
For, I would say, 80% of the lab working worldwide, whether they have to follow that norm or if they are biological labs, there is another one called 15189, but they are at the same, now they are at the same, regarding IT, they are at the same level of requirement. I would say for biological labs, it's even a little bit more.
Yeah. But it is a mandatory requirement?
For 80% of the labs, yes.
Okay.
In water labs, toys, biology, and so on, it's mandatory. So in a lot of countries, it's in the law.
What about plastics?
Maybe not, except if it is plastic that you put on the market, like in toys.
Food grade plastic?
Food, mandatory, because usually there is a direct impact on you, so it's mandatory. Some fields where it is not mechanical, sometimes, then it is not mandatory.
Okay.
And they have until 2020 to cope with this new version. And so that means that for a lot of labs it's becoming critical, but because they are still using Excel sheets or Access systems, and they have to move because they are not going to be able to validate. When you encode something in Excel, if you want the traceability, you have to print and to sign every time you encode something in Excel. So yeah, there is a lot of developments because once you enter a result in our LIMS, it's locked. And if you want to change, you have to give a reason, and then it reopens a new entry, it puts back the analysis in the to-do mode, and so on.